This video is for anyone who's interested in reading more SingLit but doesn't know where to start. Apparently, only like 18% of Singaporeans read SingLit. I think that makes sense. There's a lot of books out there. There's a lot of good books out there. And you will never know where to start unless somebody recommends it to you. Hi folks, welcome to my National Day vlog. I'm going to be talking about Singaporean literature, or what we call SingLit. I'm a book editor and publisher. I'm a writer. I'm desperately addicted to books. This shelf here behind me, basically these two shelves, these are Singaporean books. For today's video, I'm going to look at these two bookshelves and I'm going to pick out some of the books that I'd like to recommend. I'm going to talk about novels, I'm going to talk about poetry, non-fiction, picture books, comic books, art books, zines, photo books. Okay, let's talk about some books. So we're gonna look closer at these two shelves. Up here we have our illustrated literature. I have comic books and picture books in this shelf here. And then in the lower shelf, I have my novels and non-fiction and poetry. So this is where all the literary literature is. I want to show you guys this bookend. It's a replica of the old National Library at Fort Canning. I'm very nostalgic about this building. I had spent a lot of time there as a kid. Start with something illustrated. What Gives Us Our Names by Alvin Pang. This is a newer edition that was illustrated by Marie To, and she did this comic book a while back as well. I really like her style. That's why I bought the Alvin Pang book. Because actually I have this in a different edition already. This is a really cute book with poetry, prose poetry, and illustrations inside. Troy Chin, The Resident Tourist. I am a big fan of this series. I don't have all the books with me now, but I have read all of it. He's, a really important comic creator in Singapore. This series is really like classic and it's a must read for anyone starting out SingLit. It's a kind of coming of age story. It talks a lot about his struggles with mental health and creative life. He puts a lot of himself into it. I really respect him for that. Notes After Tarawih. It has a lot of really nice observations about Muslim cultural practices written by Zix. And this is, you can read it in one sitting. It's really a pleasure to read. The Ollie Comics by Drewscape and Drew Tan. I love this book. I have bought several copies for my friends who are just becoming fathers themselves. It's a really cute book. It's so relatable and so sweet. I also want to talk about Sunny Liu's work. I don't have The Art of Charlie Chan Hock Chai with me now, which is kind of a grievous omission. But I have Eternity Girl, which he did not write, but he illustrated. Okay, I just want to say that my work involves comic books. I work at Asia Pac Books, which is a comic book publisher. So I worked on books like Elizabeth Choi, Lieutenant Anand. This is a separate shelf altogether because my work involves comic books, so I don't really bring all of them home. Okay, picture books. I love picture books. I buy more picture books than any other kind of book because I like to buy them for my friends and family. This is by Hong Shin. It's really good. It's very popular. And it's a whole series. So there's the Oil Lamp, there's the Amazing Sarong, and then I think there's 2 other titles. Whoops. Okay, I want to talk about zines. I bought this from NG and P-Sing's store during Singapore Art Book Fair. Other zines that I have I have this risograph zine, Mr. Tux. Few other zines that I bought from NG. I like to buy independent publications at like Comic Con or at um design bookstores. Oh, this is by Guojie and Juliana. Zines are always very interesting, especially when they are done by my friends, like creatives like photographers, artists, and whatnot. Oh, it's the Dim Sum Warriors. This really cute book. I love that it's bilingual. It's great for parents and kids who are trying to learn Chinese. I think this is so clever with the format. Okay, things are about to get more literary. I want to talk about my Alphon Saad books. Alphon Saad is one of my favorite writers in Singapore since always, since I was a student. I think he's an incredible writer. This is my absolute favorite book. Malay Sketches is a collection of short stories, short fiction. I find it very emotionally true, very heart-wrenching, and very beautifully written. I bought multiple copies of this book for my friends over the years, and I think it's an absolute classic and it's relevant all the time. Alphon Saad is also an extremely talented playwright. That's how I got to know about his work. I watched the Asian Boys trilogy play when I was very young, and it's very funny. Alphon is a genius. Corridor is short stories. History of Amnesia is a poetry collection. Okay, I'm going to take a bit of a break. Okay, so right now nothing special is really happening. I'm just eating breakfast because my camera ran out of battery. While charging my little camera, I realized I have two books next to my bed. Okay, I have to go take this out. It's a chopstick. Yeah, who doesn't use chopsticks as bookmarks? Okay, now I'm caffeinated. I'm going to start talking about fiction and non-fiction books and poetry. That's what's mainly in this shelf here. Vawa. This is a book by Isa Kamari. This is an English transliteration. It's originally written in Malay. Vawa is a novel, and it's about the life of these kind of river nomads that lived in Singapore in the past, the Orang Selita. There are probably some of them still around, and this novel talks about their way of life and also like what was lost. Isa Kamari, he only wrote in Malay for until like a few years ago when he published Tweet. This is quite nice. Very short though. Other award-winning writers. Ing Peian, I was reading his book while eating breakfast. Ing Peian, it writes mainly in Chinese, so these are also translated works. Peian is also married to a translator, Bing Chu, and so his work has always been very well translated, either by his wife or by really good writers, Lo Guan Liang, Jeremy Tiang. This is the book that got me started on Ing Peian's works. Coming of age story, teenagers in 50s Malaya having their political awakening to life as middle-aged adult. Peian is one of the very few novelists in Singapore who have written like more than 5 or like more than 10 really important works. He also has short stories. He's just one of the most sophisticated and matured writers that we have here, and so in that sense very important to read. Ing Peian also has poetry. These are translated by Judith Huang and his wife, Bing Chu. Love that his work is always in both English and Chinese. It makes it much more accessible. Okay, this book. I'm very curious to read this book, Best of Singapore Erotica. I found this at home at my mom's house and I haven't opened it yet. Yeah, who says Singapore doesn't have erotica? Well, let's start talking about poetry. The Collected Poems of Arthur Yap. This book is fantastic. He has written a lot of amazing things. My favorite poet in Singapore, if I had to pick one. I have a volume of poetry by Catherine Lim. I love this book cover. I think it's so like kind of retro and fun. Catherine Lim is a very famous fiction writer in Singapore. We all read her books in school. Non-fiction books, Sparking English, fun read, buy for your expat friends. Definitely learn a lot in reading this book about languages that are spoken in Singapore, Malay, Hokkien, all these different dialects that help to create what is now what we call Singlish. Getting serious here, this is what inequality looks like. Such an important book. I think it's an absolute must read. It was a huge bestseller when it came out. It was mentioned in Parliament. It covers all the most important social issues in Singapore. It's a very contemporary view. One of those books that really change your perspective and has the power to change society. Other books in the same vein, Living with Myths in Singapore is also narratives and like political history in Singapore, kind of academic view, but it's definitely readable. Singapore Incomplete. These three books, I would say, are essential, important and popular books about the social, political, economic landscape in Singapore. I think in Singapore, it's really, really important to read books like that. It's very hard to really understand what is happening in society just from looking at the news and from social media, which is so much engineered by our state-sponsored media. So if you want to really understand like what Singaporean society is like, you must read the books. Okay, and then let's talk about different kind of book now. This is a design history book by Justin Zhuang. Justin is a fantastic writer and subject matter expert when it comes to design history in Singapore. Okay, and in that vein, please allow me to self-advertise a little bit. I edited this book. This is me. This is my mom. We are both working together in the book industry. This is a book about publishing and printing and literary history in Singapore. If there's any reason why you should listen to me talk about books, I would say it's probably because I worked on this project. It was a really, really nice project, really fun to work on, really meaningful. I'm just going to talk about a few books to end off. This is an art book by Yan Yun, an artist in Singapore that I really, really like. Other art books, this is Onyu Pabo. This is Tsai Kuning's Venice Biennale work. Really weird but interesting book. On another shelf, I also have photo books by Nguyen, iconic Singaporean photographer. I love these books. They're really, really nice and quite important to me. So that's what's in my SingLit bookshelves. Super happy that I got to share this with you today because I really love these books. They all mean a lot to me. There are many, many books that I still haven't talked about yet. Books that are in my office, books that are in my mom's house. So if you're curious about any of the books that I talked about and you want to find out more details, feel free to leave a comment below. You can also leave a comment if you like a book recommendation. I hope this was interesting for you. It was a lot of fun for me to shoot. Quite fun to take out all my books because, they're like my favorite things. The last thing I want to say is that this vlogging thing is still quite new to me, so I'm really still learning and exploring. If you have any comments or any feedback, I would really, really appreciate it. I'm still looking for ways to do this better. So that's it for today. Happy reading. Thank you so much for watching this. Leave me some comments if you can. And have a great day. Bye. Okay, this is... I need subtitle.